All right, boom. We are live on Tuesday, so we're a little bit late. Just some traffic and good old stuff that goes along with that. And
Oh yeah.
We're going to depart on time today because guess where I'm headed?
Uh-oh. I'm going to take a guess and say you're potentially going to the Bahamas.
Nope. Going to the Diamondbacks game.
Oh, are you really?
I'm gonna go check out my first World Series game ever. So
That's awesome. That'll be fun. Heck yeah.
But so
it was a tough game last night.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of that momentum swing with like the getting thrown out at home, and you would have had 2 men on and no outs, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, so we haven't been on here for a couple of weeks. I was traveling last week, and then we had the Phoenix RIA, so we've been absent, but we're back in town. We're ready to go, and so I've been just cruising around this sub-2 topic, and I think. I know we talk about it a lot, but I think it's something we need to talk about a lot because it's a moving target, right? It is just a moving target. We're getting the ins and outs. I literally just got off the phone with Fidelity Title, and I'm just trying to okay, you'll do this, you won't do this. What is what's going on? Have you been doing a lot of these and running into the same stuff?
We still haven't been doing a ton of sub-2. We tend to go mostly, like I know I've told you this before, but I mean our preferred route of buying properties is typically the BRRRR route right now of buying them and keeping them.
Right.
I know it's more difficult with interest rates, but that's still what we've been rolling with.
Okay.
But I mean, like I said, I think I told you this. We've just been getting some good deals lately. So it's like because we've been getting good deals. Because we believe that there's been less competition. We've had some of the best deals that we've had in the last probably 3 months, especially to buy and hold. So I mean, we took on, we added 13 rental properties in the last 3.5 months, and nearly every one of those is going to be a BRRRR. We have one sub-2 in there.
Okay. Okay, well, I mean, as you know that you like to hit them at the kneecap, so now you're hitting them at the ankles, right?
I mean, yeah, it's how we look at things is that if you can get amazing deals and you can add rental properties and you can have them cash flow and you can be no money out of pocket, why would you not do that? So that's what we've been going with.
Right. So typically, with that, you're probably buying them super low. I'd say less than 70 cents on the dollar.
Definitely.
Less than 60.
I mean, the last one I snagged was probably closer to about 50% on the dollar.
Yeah. So then you're cleaning it up, and are you doing DSCR? What are you doing?
You're doing the loan on it.
Okay. Well, that's
yeah, you're the lender. You're the lender on. You're the hard money lender on it. But then yes, when I go to refinance, it's going to be a DSCR loan.
Yeah.
So my last DSCR that I closed on was at 8.62. 8.62%, because if people don't know that are on here, typically DSCR is about a point to 2 points higher than a Fannie Freddie. But again, it's one of those things where you don't have to jump through nearly the amount of hoops to get it. And so you just kind of have to decide if it's worth it for you or not. But for me, it tends to be worth it because you also only get 10 Fannie Freddie loans. So it's something you have to think about.
Yeah. So you only get the 10 Fannie or Freddie. And like you said, it's literally, they're just going to look at the cash flow on the property. And which makes that super easy. You don't have to do the bank statements and all the stuff that you typically have to do with the normal Fannie Freddie refi, right?
Yep, exactly. They view it as an asset. They view it as a business, basically, opposed to just buying a property.
Yeah. Well, so I bought my first sub-2 on July 31. I grabbed it. It was a Texas deal built in 2020.
Yep.
They got 2.75% interest. I've actually talked about it on the show. I couldn't go wrong. Like, how do you go wrong?
Right,
I was getting about a 10% discount. So then it just, it started, and then the cash flow is like $1,400 a month. And then I just started down this path of like, okay, sub-2, let's, if we're going to do it, we might as well do it right. So I'm just trying to figure out all the ins and outs. So I don't, if you know this or don't know this, but there's multiple title companies out there now that won't actually even do them. And here's what I've figured out. So no one is touching FHA. So they're just flat not doing them. VA is fine as long as you do it as an agreement for sale. So you're buying it from the seller, but you're not actually getting title in your name. You're buying it, and you're taking it, or you're getting the payments and all that. And you're doing the down payment, but they don't actually transfer the deed until it pays off. So that's, title companies are willing to do that, and then conventional, they're fine with. You can wrap as many conventional as you want. So in this process of learning this, I've also learned people are selling these FHA houses sub 2, and they're called self-performing. Have you heard of this? The self-performing.
No.
Okay. So there's two TCs in town and one law firm in town that will do these self-performing FHA sales. And basically what the self-performing is they just basically order a title report.
Okay.
And so let's just say I'm buying a sub 2 from you.
Right.
You have an FHA loan on it. So we go to one of these two TC companies in town that are doing it, and you're the seller, I'm the buyer. They are literally just ordering a title report. The title report came from Fidelity Title. Schedule A, Schedule B, the exceptions, all the good old stuff on the title report. Not that a lot of people in our industry actually read those title reports.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're getting title insurance. So I get my title report, and it on this house, and it has the Schedule A, the seller, all that kind of stuff. Then it has the Schedule B with the loan, the HOA, all the different stuff that you see on the Schedule B, and then it has some exceptions. And one of the exceptions is an existing lien.
Okay.
So I've actually done this before. So, I've read title reports, and I'm just like, all right, I gotta like check out this existing lien and see so, I reach out to Fidelity. Oh yeah, that might need a little clean,
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
They actually go and they get, they find the release, boom, all good. We're ready to go.
Right.
If I hadn't, and then the TC goes, all right. And I get this list. Okay, you got to send the seller this much money. You got to send the agent this much money. You have to send the first assignee this much money, and because these TCs that are doing the self-performing aren't licensed to do escrow, you're literally distributing all the money to all the parties yourself.
Oh, wow.
That was a little news to me. So basically, on this transaction we're talking about, you're the seller, I'm the buyer.
Right.
We get the title report, we review the title report, and then once the title report's reviewed, the TC goes, hey, send the seller this much money. And as a matter of fact, I didn't even send the seller because I had to reinstate the loan or bring the loan current. So the seller was due $10,000. I had to hop into his mortgage company and reinstate $8,400.
Okay.
And then I'm like, okay. And then the TC company says, okay, send the extra $1,600 to the seller. And I'm like thinking about, okay, what about the HOA? So now I have to wait for a recorded deed. And once I get the recorded deed, I can then contact the HOA. Get the HOA, and I found out that there's $606 that is past due on the HOA.
Okay.
But if I would have not known any better, the TC says, hey, just wire the $1,600.
Right.
Well, I'm like, oh, well, what about the HOA? So I do my investigation and find out that there's, $606 in HOA dues.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I pay that. And then, I got this seller who's like, hey, well, I think I'm supposed to get like $10,000. And he hasn't read the contract that realizes he's getting $10,000, but he's supposed to come current with the $10,000. So I have this seller now because I'm now the one sending the money who's beating down my door looking for money.
Right. Oh yeah.
Because there's no title, there's no escrow company involved here.
Right.
So
no one to manage all of it.
Yeah. So now, because you do use a self-performing TC, which, there's people. So if you're out there looking sub 2 deals come across and they're FHA, just know that there's very few title companies that are actually doing them. So there'll be this little bottom piece that says self-performing. So that just means that you're just ordering a title report. You have to review the title report and make sure that there's no cleanup. And if I hadn't reviewed it and known to clean it up ahead of time, imagine if I'd had to clean it up after.
No, that sounds awful. That sounds like a headache right there.
So, and then here I am also trying to, so as a seller of a sub 2 self-performing, here's another clue. Like, here I am the buyer, the deal's closed, and I had to send 2 bird dogs or sub wholesalers $4,000 each.
Okay.
That I'm supposed to send on a wire, and then the original guy that signed up the contract wholesaled it for $20,000. So here I am supposed to send 2 $4,000 assignments and a $20,000 assignment, but who's to say that I could just not do it? The deed's recorded. The deed's recorded.
Yeah. At that point, it's just a matter of what's written down there, and yeah, that could be. I mean, that's what's amazing about title companies that people don't realize. Like they take care of so much, that we have, but we don't want to deal with. At least myself personally, I'm one of those people where I do well when I'm in my own knowledge of my things, which is buying and selling houses, right? And meeting with people. But when it comes to the paperwork side, when it comes to like the actual, the actual important parts that can get you in trouble long term, I would never deal with that because I would sink myself if I ever tried to. So I mean, just the fact that they can handle all that for us is amazing.
Yeah.
And you have to have one that you trust too.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, imagine if you're a seller of a sub 2 deal that is an FHA, and how many wholesalers out there after their recorded deed and now they got to pay $28,000 in assignment fees?
Yeah.
I mean, there are people in this business that I know that would be like, nah, you know what? I'm just going to send it.
I'm good. Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
There's the seller got what they wanted. They got their money. They got reinstated. Their payments are being current now. Their credit's being repaired. And, I could tell you on these self-performing FHA ones, I don't know that I would trust certain wholesale buyers to, fund my assignment fee after the close.
Definitely not. I hear you. I'm with you. I'm with you. You know what I find that gets really sticky is we just had this one happen on a property that we bought up in Prescott. Is that and again, I'm happy that title was here to kind of handle it, but there's things that happened during this transaction because of just how people do real estate, like transactions. So we bought this property and we have a tenant that's in place, and he provided. I'm sorry, not the tenant. The seller provided the lease agreement that was in place, right? So they provided that to Fidelity, to title, and so obviously title they pulled out the security deposit that was owed to them, right? And they prorated the rents and everything. Well, I go to find out that the guy is like, hey, I'm just curious, but where did my money get sent? And I was like, oh, I received the rent portion, your security deposit through title when we closed. And he's like, okay, well, how much do you have on there for security deposit? And which the contract showed, it was $1,850. So I was like, I got 1850. And he goes, I have a side agreement with the seller that she owes me another 1850. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have that. Fidelity doesn't have that. The seller never provided that. And so that was and then I was like, do you have paperwork to show this or anything? He sends me a contract between him and her saying that he needed to pay her the 1850 up front for the security deposit, but then he also had to pay her 1850 over a 6-month period. So it was like $305 or whatever it was per month.
Right.
And so he did that. So he paid her an extra 1850. And so obviously it didn't go through title because she provided with the lease agreement that she had. Yeah. And then they had a side agreement for another one. And so he's calling me, asking me for an extra 1850. And I'm like, I don't have that. I was never given your 1850 that you have a side deal with your old seller for, your old landlord for. So you got to look out for that. There's that happened on one, and then there was another property. This was the exact same transaction, same lady, with a different tenant though, and it was the exact same thing. There was a lease agreement that was drawn up, and it was all clear, and then it was all in pen, and then in a different color pen, there's different writing over the top of it with some different terms on it, and that was the one that was provided to title again. And so, it's interesting. You gotta be careful when you're out there. But I mean, this is the type of things though, is that like in real estate, when people are putting together lease agreements, when people are doing these handshake deals, you know what I mean? It makes it difficult, especially when you're buying a property with tenants in place.
Yeah. So that's a whole different thing. And then, so one more thing I've learned about these sub-2 deals, as you're doing them around the country, you got to remember that there's lending laws. In 2012, there's a law that was put in. It's called qualified mortgage. So you're offering financing, and your only kind of get out of jail free card is you're allowed to offer seller financing to a buyer on a house that you have lived in. But i.e. for the state of Texas, they put a law in 2022 that if you're doing seller finance deals and you do more than 3, so you do more than 3 in the state of Texas, now you have to be licensed in the state of Texas.
Oh, wow.
So, and then
is that a new law
in the state of Texas? So so if you're doing these, and I've done a sub-2 deals in Florida, I've done them in Texas, I've done some in Arizona. I actually had one in California. I had one in Indiana, but I looked at title issues and all that, and I'm like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah.
But so you can't also sell an agreement for sale in Texas. So there are certain states so your dispo option is obviously a long-term rental, a short-term rental.
Yeah.
Then one of your other options is, a lease option. And then another one is an agreement for sale. Well, agreements for sale and lease options aren't legal in some other states. So, understanding you have to know not just the laws on how to dispo it, but also if you're offering financing, you need to understand the different financing laws.
Jeez. Yeah. That sounds like that could get sticky pretty quickly as well.
Yeah. So as I've been learning this and talking to people and trying to, get all this kind of wrapped around, and remember, I'm only doing 3 states. And I'm literally making a spreadsheet of like, all right, Texas is no agreement for sale. So if you take over a subject to in Texas, you have to take it over and you have to deed it to yourself. And then when you sell it, you deed it to them. And then, so literally making a spreadsheet of mortgage licensing laws, like all the different stuff out there. So it was just kind of like, as I'm going through this process, I just thought I'd share, this new self-performing FHA where you don't get title insurance.
Yeah.
You're responsible for distributing all the money.
Man, Man, I'm telling you, that could get some people in trouble. I promise you that.
Well, here's another small piece is as the people are out there doing them and wholesaling them, we just know that people get in trouble. People get in financial trouble. There are some people that were crushing it, 2 years ago, like absolutely blowing it up in real estate, right? They're on the Instagram and they're doing all their stuff. And, and I literally got a call, I don't know, like a month ago, and like, hey, I need to talk to you about some stuff. Do you mind if I just jump on a call with you? I'm like, yeah. Like, well, I'm struggling. And I'm like, what do you mean you're struggling?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm trying to figure out if I'm fine. I'm like, you just been crushing home for like ever. How are you struggling? Like I'm trying to get that wrapped around my mind.
Right.
So as this whole process comes in, you're paying these people 3% and you promise to pay them. And then you go and maybe you lease it. Maybe you sell it on agreement for sale. Maybe you sell it on a lease option. But what happens to you think the underlying mortgage person when the person maybe getting a divorce, maybe having financial struggles, but they got 5 of these and they have the money coming in? Do you think they actually pay the mortgage or do they keep it?
Right. If they're struggling, there's a good chance they're keeping that.
Let's just say it's $1,500 a month times 5, and their underlying mortgage is, let's say, 1,000 times 5. They're getting, $7,500 in.
Yep.
And they're getting, and they're supposed to pay $5,000. So they're still getting $2,500 a month in cash flow. But how often do you think $7,500 comes in and they're having
that's gone?
They're having struggles and it goes out the door, and XYZ sellers that they bought from these, and they probably didn't even, do the acquisitions themselves. They might have just bought it from a wholesaler, right?
Yep.
So they've never even met Mr. or Mrs. Smith that is got the underlying mortgage, right? So
right. Absolutely.
So
it gets dangerous, that's for sure.
So just some of the I just wanted to share so I bought my first sub-2 on July 31st, and today is October. We're 90 days in. I didn't plan it that way, but we're 90 days in, and I've probably had hundreds of conversations about, it's at least a couple of hundreds of conversations about, all the different stuff that could go on here, and and learning it, because it's going to be part of this business for here and in the future for sure.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. No doubt about it, especially if interest rates stay where they're at.
Yeah. And then when interest rate goes down, everybody's happy and all these get paid off and all the stuff is in the middle. But in the current market, knowing the ins and outs and all the different laws is going to be super important. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. And that's why I didn't even ask you what our topic was today. We're like, what we're doing? We're talking about the ins and outs of sub-2.
Hey, that's good. I'm always down to learn more about sub-2. Like I said, sub-2 is the area that I probably know the least about of all the different areas of what we do. So
yeah, so that was kind of my little share. I know if anybody isn't watching the market, our inventory just keeps rising. And that's not going to be any change. The 10-year has dipped down to 4.75. I saw. So that means interest rates they're probably back off 8. They're probably back in the 7s, which is obviously, good. But I think 7 is going to be the new norm for a while.
So here's a question for you, Chris. Do you think that when they drop back down, say 7, mid 7s, do you think that you see a huge spike in buying again? Because people are going to be like, oh, they're out of the 8s now. Let's go.
Well, see, it'll be interesting. I don't think right now we're in the fall schedule, which it's always slow. There's nothing new here. But, this is a replay from last year. They were in the 7s and they dipped to the high 6s in December. And you saw a very fast, healthy December, which is, who usually buys houses during Christmas?
Not the norm. Right. Exactly.
So, as long as as long as we stay in that 7. So if you're watching that 10-year, like it's probably at 4.75 or 8. If we see anything, the economists are saying for 3 to 4 rate decreases, which is just the Fed rate. It's not the 10-year, but the unrest in the Middle East should keep, because when there's unrest, people run to treasuries, right? So when people run to treasuries, supply and demand, more money coming to treasuries, generally they decrease. So we could see some lower pricing. If we see anything down below 4.5 on the 10-year going into January, I think we're not going to be in for a amazing spring, but we'll be in for a good one at least.
Yeah, right. Nice. I like it. What
do you got? Anything new going on in your business? Any questions about the sub 2 world? I've literally been
you've been diving deep.
I've been studying this, like, I got a math test on it because I'm just trying to do it all right.
You really have. No, I mean, like I said, we don't do a ton. We really don't. What we need to do is we need to hit it harder, though, just in the sense of when our leads come through, of actually going about it, where it's like exhausting that lead. We exhaust it in every other sense, except for sub 2, typically, except for creative. And so, obviously we're probably missing out on deals by not hitting hard on it, but it's something that we can definitely add. But again, we typically go the route of wholesale first, if we can get like a nice fat rip where, obviously you close in a matter of a couple of weeks. Those are always nice.
Yeah.
We got 2 of those last week or a week and a half ago, from cold calling. We sold one of them through you guys. Then we sold another one. A couple of days after that one.
But yeah, I hear you.
Hey, you blasted it out. But so we go wholesale first, and then we go flip next, and then after flip, we'll kind of at that same time frame, we'll look at if we want to flip it or if it makes sense to burr it and keep it. And so then really last route that we typically will go is a novation. And then I know a lot of people will go after novation, then they'll hit creative. And so that's something we're not doing yet, but like I said, something we should probably be throwing in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. It's coming up on a half hour, and I'm headed downtown to the D-backs game. I'm gonna go to my first and probably only World Series game, but I'm gonna say that I did it.
Well, and it's kind of cool because you're doing it on Halloween night.
Yeah, and guess what I got on? This is my costume. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, there we go.
Captain America.
There we go. Perfect.
All right. So one question: when wholesaling, when reverse wholesaling? So reverse wholesaling is when you basically have the buyer set up, right? And then you go get the deal, right? So what questions do you ask the buyer? Obviously, you need to know where they want to buy, what their price point is, how much rehab do they want to do? I mean, all those kind of questions are, so price point.
Yeah, you want to find out what their buy box is.
Yeah, exactly. So
what is it exactly you're looking for? And that's what I think, Chris, I know you guys are really good at that. You guys have certain buyers that are good for certain, price points, areas, all that stuff. I mean, you guys do a great job of that with us, even where it's like, okay, if you guys get a deal in Northern Arizona, Sedona, Flagstaff, Prescott Valley, that kind of area, you're sending it over because that's kind of our bread and butter over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly that, Zay. When you are building your buyers list, just make sure you know what everybody wants, so you can get a decent idea of what to look for, so that because I mean, it's smart though. It's smart to go reverse wholesaling, because if you're having a hard time finding buyers right now for certain things, then exactly like you said, go reverse and say, okay, well, who are my people that I know 1,000% will buy? And then if they 1,000% will buy, then go find out exactly what it is that they're looking for.
Yeah, and hey, for all you wholesalers, you probably have a little bit of extra time on your hands right now.
Yeah.
So one of the great things to do is dive into your buyers list and start doing some reverse wholesaling, so that you can take a little bit of that risk off the table, figure out who's still buying,
Yep.
what they want to do, and then target your marketing around those things.
Yep, for sure.
I'm going to go buy as many Northern Arizona 50% so I can sell it to Luke for.
Hey, we just completed a flip together, and it just closed yesterday.
Sweet. All right, I got to go to the Diamondbacks game. See you guys.
Hey, sounds good. Enjoy it.
Yeah.